Hey people, it's me Harsh Kedia. You might know me as the diabetic chef, and I have my foxy partner.
Hey everyone, welcome to We Give a Fox, and I'm Sonam C. Chabra. Well, this is the very first episode of We Give a Fox, where we really give a fox about everything. Everything about you, everything about your opinions, and everything that matters.
Sonam, let's address the elephant in the room, the boys' locker room situation. Everyone's been talking about it, and it is very pressing and it is very disheartening.
It truly is disheartening, Harsh. When I first discovered about it on internet through something that went viral, a post, I was shocked and appalled to see the kind of narrative that these 17, 18-year-olds were resorting to. Casually, easily discussing gang rape and harassing women online and sharing morphed pictures of girls, young girls, some of them even minors. Anyway, so today on We Give a Fox, we have Swati Malewal, who is the chairperson of Delhi Commission for Women, and also the lady in question who went ahead and filed a complaint against Boys Locker Room with the Delhi Police and Instagram. A very warm welcome, Swati Malewal. Thank you for joining us. I want to ask you your opinion on Boys Locker Room chat.
The larger issue that comes forward in such a case is how is it that these boys, these young boys, the so-called future of our country, are so casually discussing rape, planning it, and also just objectifying women. I think it is very shameful, very, very sad. In fact, what I see is that when a girl from an economically better off family gets raped or she is molested, I feel that many times more efforts are made to somehow hide it, to somehow not speak about it. In fact, we see just the opposite. I think also when you say that, why boys from good schools, from the most best of schools in Delhi, why is it that they were talking like this? So, in 3 years, according to the Delhi police, 31,446 crimes against women happened in the state of Delhi, which is the capital of the country, and less than 140 were convicted. Can you imagine? So, 31,000 क्राइम होंगे, 150 से कम लोगों को सजाएं होंगी. No wonder people are getting this false sense of power and people are feeling that they can rape, they can talk about all of this. And I really want to say to all these boys who are writing this that boys तो boys हैं, उनका तो जो मन करेगा वो करेंगे. मैं बिल्कुल बताना चाहती हूँ कि बिल्कुल ठीक नहीं है. लॉकडाउन चल रहा था लेकिन still all the agencies are active. Even the Delhi Commission for Women was active, even the Delhi Police was active, and finally those boys have been arrested.
कमिंग टू इंस्टाग्राम मैम, आई वांटेड टू अंडरस्टैंड, क्योंकि ये सोशल मीडिया एप्स का जमाना है. आजकल 10-11 साल के बच्चों के हाथ में भी स्मार्टफोन है. क्या आपको लगता है कि इंस्टाग्राम शुड ऑल्सो बी हेल्ड अकाउंटेबल? नॉट जस्ट इंस्टाग्राम, आई विल से दी सोशल मीडिया एप्स. डोंट यू थिंक दे शुड ऑल्सो कीप ट्रैक ऑफ सच कंटेंट ऑल्सो? जो आपने कंप्लेन फाइल की है दिल्ली पुलिस को और उसकी कॉपी आपने इंस्टाग्राम को भी भेजी है, if I'm right. So what is Instagram's accountability in this whole scenario?
So we have actually issued a notice to Instagram because we also want to hold them accountable, like you very rightly said. The fact is that on their platform, a gang rape of a minor was being planned. It's not as if that they are not aware about it. Of course they are aware about it. And once they got aware about it, what are the protocols that they are following? Have they forwarded the complaint to the Delhi police? Don't you think, I think everybody would agree that they should have some kind of protocol that whenever they have realized that a crime is happening or a crime is about to happen, they should have certain systems in place where this kind of complaint is forwarded by them themselves to the Delhi police.
Exactly.
Or to whichever police it concerns. So that is why we have issued a notice to Instagram, because we want to understand this from them. Also, I want to understand what were the usernames, who all were involved in this, and apart from that, once they got that information, what is the step that they took? Just by deactivating those accounts, I don't think that is enough. They need to forward it to the concerned authorities. We need to create systems in our country. Why is it that people rape? Why is it that people get away with molestation and all of this? Somewhere they feel that they'll be able to get away with it. So I think that systems need to be strengthened. I think that we need to have certainty and swiftness of punishment to people like this. Once you ensure that, there will be some kind of deterrence, because there will be fear in the society against these kind of crimes.
How they can reach out to the Commission for Women, how they can reach out to you, What is the helpline? Can you elucidate on that a little bit?
So firstly, I would like to say that please don't take it lying low. If anybody is harassing you in any manner, please report it. And these girls who came out and actually brought something so important as the boys' locker room to everybody's notice, I really want to congratulate them, and I think they're very brave. So be brave and please step out and please report your crime. If God forbid anything happens against you, once you do that, you can do it through by dialing 100 number. That is the simplest way. Please dial 100 number. Please let the Delhi police know. And if you want to approach the Delhi Commission for Women, my email ID is livingpositive@gmail.com. You can write to us.
Thank you so much, Miss Maliwal. I'm sure a lot of girls are going to reach out to you. That was very informative, insightful, and helpful. Listening to your point of view on this whole boys' locker room situation. Coming over to our next two guests, we have two important voices from across the internet joining us here today. We have Parvati Omnakuttan, who happens to be an ex-Miss India and also a runner-up at the Miss World contest, currently a food evangelist, food enthusiast, and a very strong woman with a strong voice. Thank you for joining us, Parvati. We also have here with us an experienced news reporter with a history of working in the internet news industry. Ex-BuzzFeed, currently with Pocket Aces, I have my dear friend, Andre Borges. Thank you for joining us, Andre. Parvati, you've been a beauty queen. You've been in the business of fashion and beauty way before the times of Facebook and Instagram. How was it back then? How has this whole social media storm and these whole smartphones, how has this really changed our society?
Well, a lot has changed, post the Facebook, Snapchat and Instagram has been so widely being used by youngsters. There used to be a time when there was an age limit of using these social media platforms, 18 years and above. But I'm seeing more and more youngsters in the age of 10, 11, 12, and, the boys in question currently are 15, 16. And it's really sad because I always say that, all these goes back to what you are brought up with, the values. It's easy for parents these days to just hand over a phone or an iPad in the hands of the kids. And they are so addicted to it right from the childhood. And then being on social media is kind of, for them, it's more like an acceptance from the society that they exist. And it's really sad when comments on women have been going around forever. I don't think that it's just because of Facebook or Instagram, but I personally have been in situations where I've had to fight with somebody or argue with someone while traveling in trains or in buses in Bombay, or walking on the streets, on the road. And it doesn't matter for these men who have no job, clearly, other than just, passing lewd comments. And it doesn't matter whether you are alone, you're with your mother, whether you're with your father, or with your friends. It's just the power that we give when we stay silent.
So I think in these cases, very rarely does privilege not have a part to play in most things in India. But I think in this sense, it's an overall way of raising men. Like I think, in my opinion,
I agree.
most people, raise their daughters to be cautious and afraid, and the men are never really raised well. I think that that's the basis of all of this happening. Like I was like, what happened was really disgusting, was really horrifying, but the responses after the event were even more horrifying because, as Parvati said, I saw so many people finding small areas of defense, and in my opinion, like, what is there to defend? Like, there's no defense to be made
Exactly.
for these kinds of things, and I think it's a very confused sense of like parenting where you don't teach. I find it very strange to say, like, I think it should be said that, like, teach your son not to, abuse women, teach your son not to rape. Like, it seems like a very gentle thing that should be taught in childhood. And I don't think it has anything to do with, rich Delhi kids or, marginalized kids who are, the poorer sections of society. I think it's an ingrained identity. And I feel like a lot of our culture as Indians, like Bollywood films and like a bunch of things, kind of teach adolescent and young young kids that coercion and physicalness and abuse and all of these things can be taken like are fine for men. And like personally, I feel like we forgive a lot because of age. Like we're like, in this case also, I saw a lot of people saying that, oh, but they're young kids, they didn't actually do anything. You forgive the actions of young kids, and then when they become men, they do the things that they were talking about as young kids, and then again you forgive the actions. So like you're basically saying that it doesn't matter. Like
Correct.
why is this a leg to stand on? Why is this an argument that people are making after this thing came out? And I think that social media is a good thing. I do agree that it is could be slightly controlled and stuff like that, but I feel like in India, Me Too movement, this thing coming out, it was an Instagram post that went extremely viral.
Correct.
This is the sort of thing that's going around in the society and in schools today, that you're not allowed to raise your hands on like students. You're not allowed to shout and yell and like sort of get certain things onto your students. When it was in my time, I'm not supporting the idea that what my teachers might have done is right. I was absolutely traumatized with the abuse, but there was a certain value that we were taught back in my time, like by my parents, by my teachers, that there is a certain amount and sense of respect that you need to have. Like the day I would have raised my eye against any of my sisters, the day I would have shouted at any of my sisters, or even in a fight of a conversation, I would have said something, my mother would have slapped me and she would have told me, you should never ever talk to anybody like that. And that's the kind of respect that we need to sort of imbibe into our younger ones. When parents are fighting, try keeping your kids out of the situation, because that sort of imbibes the value that the father or the man of the house is entitled to do certain things in a certain way. That whole thing comes ingrained into them when they are much younger, and that carries with them further and forward. Do you guys have something to say about that with any of your experiences or so?
I feel it's not just home. It's not just what they see at home. Obviously, a lot of what we are today, I mean, the initial 4 to 5 years we spend absolutely at home before we go to school and kindergarten. And obviously nowadays, kids are sent to school as early as 1 year. But I think it's also to do with social conditioning, because everywhere around the world, if you pick up any bad word, a gali, it's all based on a woman, a mother or a sister, right? And that's where it all begins. Like if you want to abuse somebody, the first few words that comes out of your mouth, if you don't think about it, it's all demeaning the woman of the house.
There was this one video I came across on Facebook, finally, social media, and like the whole issue at Pressing Hand. So there was this lady that was speaking on that video where she sort of mutes the entire open house, and she doesn't let anybody record anything on their phones and cameras. And then she says that this is the power of technology and this is what you need to do, censorship. This is what you need to look into your children's phones. I'll share the video with you guys. And it was very powerful, because what I understood out of it was that she said that she went to her 7-year-old daughter's phone, and then the first thing that she saw was flashing advertisements of pornography. And that child is 7 years old. She's sort of exposed to so much on the internet. There's no censorship. So as of today, you give your child an iPad or a phone or something, but ensure that there is some supervision. Like, do not let them deep dive into the dark web. Andre, I'm sure you have some views about the dark web and about the internet from like after reading quite a lot of stuff that has been put out there. What do you think is like the worst kind of exposure apart from just pornography on the internet for like Gen Z, Gen X?
I think the worst things I've seen on social media, and this is not specific to harassment and stuff like that, is just how different communities, let's just assume in this case we're talking about men banding together, how the counter to a very obvious wrong takes more precedence than the actual incident. Like right now, I can see the conversation turning to, like all news headlines also are men are reacting weirdly to, like you're not talking about the women, like you're focusing everything on the perpetrators of what happened, and that to me just steals a lot of the, the spotlight and the limelight on where it should have been.
Correct.
And I think that's why we lose focus. Like that's why when you think of the next incident, you can barely name, the women who were, you were the survivors of the incident, but you can very clearly remember what the incident was in the perspective of the males. And
Yeah.
that has been happening way too much, and like I can see it over and over. And I do agree that social media kind of pivots. I was talking to a friend of mine, on Instagram, and she put out a post on what happened, and then she deleted it quickly. And I asked her, she texted me and we were just talking, and then I asked, hey, I shared your post, but it's gone from my story, maybe it's an Instagram glitch. And she's like, no, I deleted it. So I was like, why did you do that? And she's like, I've got more hate from that one post than I've gotten on in the last 2-3 months, of me saying something on Instagram. And all she said was, this thing is wrong. That's it. See, with pornography and stuff like that, again, that shouldn't be on the internet, especially for minors and for younger kids. It's an active choice you make, right? Like you click. This is not an active choice the women make. Like their pictures are being stolen from the internet. Stolen from their Instagram, their private Instagram profiles. A lot of them were underage women and put into a group where they were objectified, they were rated, there were gang rape, comments, and like just this, like if you read some of the comments, it really irks you as a person. Um, and how much security can someone have online? It's ridiculous that women have to kind of safeguard every space they have, not only in the physical sense but also in the virtual sense. And it's
Very well articulated, Andre and Parvati. Thank you. Andre, coming to you, like you said, there's this friend of yours who had to take down a story because she got all that hate and threats over it. I think getting Instagram into perspective, Andre, because you're very, very active on Instagram. I see that, and you have a good following. Do you think social media apps like these should be accountable? What do you think is Instagram's stand on this? India being the second largest market for Instagram after the United States. How do you think a social media app is accountable in a situation like this?
I think they're 100% accountable. I feel like what Adi said is absolutely right. Like you'll report something which is very clearly in violation of, whether it's a violation of their rules or not, it's violation of like just human decency. You have a lot of hate speech and stuff like that on YouTube, on Instagram, on Twitter. Don't even get me started. And I've been in the mix of me tweeting something and then just bombardments of like of a propaganda cell that kind of just doesn't really make sense. That the arguments don't make sense, but the platform will barely do anything about it. Like my tweets have been reported a bunch of times, obviously by a specific community that felt that I was saying something wrong or something like that. But Instagram has Twitter has kind of blocked my tweets sometimes where there's no clear violation of any of their rules. But sometimes when it's very obviously like revenge porn, or when it's very obviously hate speech, nothing happens. And my perspective is that yes, Instagram's rules are blanket across the board for everyone in the world, but there has to be clearer guidelines for specific countries, especially in times of widespread. Like India has dropped so far on the press freedom charts, on the safety for women charts, and it's just like these platforms are fueling that thing. And
Correct.
it there's no their method for reporting something also doesn't really make sense. Like you're not talking to a human, you're talking to an algorithm, and the algorithm obviously can't understand if there's a very well worded or well placed picture. So sometimes it's very easy to trick, because it's an algorithm made on a blanket thing, right? So there are no specifications made for country, region, sex, gender, platform, whatever it is. But it's so easy to trick the algorithm, and it's so easy when you just, if you report a tweet 1,000 times or something like that, it gets flagged. But who are the 1,000 people reporting it? So the platforms really need to take some kind of responsibility. And I do know that YouTube, I mean, for as much as they've tried, they are kind of hiring actual humans to regulate and like kind of moderate uh, videos propelling, especially in election years, with fake news and with hate speech and with of very obvious propaganda and stuff like that. That's not enough. Like, these platforms are basically intrinsic in everyone's life, right? Like, so the job market for it should boom. Like, there should be a deluge of jobs specifically to moderate and to safeguard the people on these platforms. But I don't see them doing that.
Thank you to our guests for joining us today, Ms. Swati Maliwal, Andre Borges, and Parvati Umnakuttan, and bringing with you your strong opinions and voices on We Give a Fox. Guys, this was our first episode out of many more to come your way, where we're going to discuss about more things that we give a fox about, where it's you and your opinion that matters.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel, where we will actually give a fox where it's just you and your opinion. Thank you so much, guys, and have a wonderful day ahead.